But yeah, I rode out there, and of course the people were out on the pickleball courts, the tennis courts, the baseball. I mean, they had the skate park, people at the dog park. They were all over the place. They were fishing, and I was just like, man, I knew people used the park. I guess not being out there a lot. I mean, a lot of times if we're patrolling or whatever, it's during the day or maybe late at night.
Sure.
And there's that window where it is being utilized quite a bit, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. Well, welcome back. We're episode 7, Chief, Cap, and Chap. Again, minus a Chap. Jason's not here today, but today's guest, we got Josh Meyer. He is the Parks Director for City of Sikeston. So thanks for joining us. And again, send us a message at chief.cap.chap@gmail.com. I'll get that right. And we'd love to hear from you. Just thanks for tuning in, and let's kick this off. John, you want to fire off?
Sure. Glad to have Josh here today.
Yeah.
And of course, this was my idea again.
Just joking. It is. I've said before, I don't have good ideas, but I know one when I hear it. So,
yeah, what made me think of this was we had a conversation. I guess I kind of overheard a conversation you had with Chief last week, just kind of wanting to spotlight some of the things going on out at the complex. And I think you're in leadership, Sikeston.
That's right.
And it spurred some thoughts of some things that we could do working with you in leadership, Sikeston, and kind of highlight the complex. And it just got me thinking, man, the complex right now is your busy time of year, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's popping out there right now. It's the warmer it gets, the busier we are at parks, and so we certainly are busy. And the complex is the busiest part of parks, and so baseball, softball league are rolling 3 nights a week is out there, and we've got tournaments rolling most weekends. I'd say occasionally we have a weekend off here or there, but tournaments rolling Saturday and Sunday. We had fishing derby last week, had a lot of good attendance there. Mm-hmm. It was neat to see some kids come out, just all different walks, different ages come out and enjoy that. Really neat to see that. We've got just all kinds of different things. I think a little bit later in the summer we'll have a little 5K color run out there. So just things for everybody, right? And then you got 3 new playground units out there. 2 of them are completely finished that are open, and one that we're still working on. And the reason for that is it's more of an inclusive unit for some children maybe with that are more on the spectrum that need maybe some more stimulus items, and so that requires some concrete with some impact mats on top of it.
Okay,
so that's why it's taken that one a little bit longer. But we're just seeing all kinds of different families out there. I know Chief and I talked about it a little bit, and just really seeing some really neat things out there on a daily basis, and so we're excited about it.
I think one thing that really comes to mind when I think of the complex is, of course, we're very community-minded folks, and that the complex and all of our parks just kind of bring another layer to that community approach. That it's something really to be proud of when you see that complex. Man, it looks great out there.
Oh, we appreciate it. Yeah, and we're definitely very proud of it. I'll tell you, it's a lot of work. It can be, and we want it to be the best as it can be, and there's certain things that we would like it to be perfect, and it's not perfect always, and we know that, and we're always working hard to make it better and better. Something that we as Sikeston can all be proud of, and we're excited because we're going into the summer. We've got a few extra helpers coming in, some seasonal workers that alleviates our full-time guys and gives them some extra hands because with things growing, we need extra help, and
it's hard to keep up with.
It sure is. It sure is, Chief, and with 16 parks, we don't want to neglect anything else either.
Yeah. A lot of people probably don't know that we have 16 parks.
I sure didn't before I got here. And they come in all different shapes and sizes.
So when did you come here? You've been here
July of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was 1 or 2 years, but I knew it was relatively recently. So
that's right. Yeah. So we're approaching 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, where are you from?
Cape Girardeau.
Cape Girardeau. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And you played baseball?
I did. Yeah, I tried to. I played baseball for Cape Central and then played in college at Harding University.
At Harding. So is that where you graduated from, at Harding?
I did not. So after I played baseball, I ended up going to Mizzou and finished school up there.
John sporting the Mizzou shirt?
Absolutely.
Yes, he is. So did that, and then I got involved in coaching for a while and coached baseball for probably 7 years before I got into the Parks and Rec world. Worked in Parks and Rec in Cape Girardeau, and then headed south down here.
Oh, okay.
You had some affiliation with the Catfish too. Did you play there? Or did you kind of help coach, or what was your role there?
Yeah, I was the pitching coach there.
Okay.
So I was a pitching coach there for 4 years, 3 seasons, because we had a COVID year in there. Really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Got to meet some really neat people that we're still in contact with today. So I wouldn't trade that, but I'm happy what I'm doing now though too.
So you were, I can't remember, of course, when I first met Josh, we immediately went to the baseball conversation, which completely took over, the even reason why you were there that day.
That's right.
Baseball guys can go down that baseball just rabbit hole. But I can't remember, you were right-handed or left-handed pitcher?
Right-handed.
Okay. Yeah, we had that conversation. It's like, you can be just an okay left-handed pitcher and really go far, and you said you were right. But did you play American Legion and Cape, or did you because at some point there was, American Legion was kind of the premier before travel ball kind of came around.
That's right.
Were you in the travel ball era or the American Legion era?
I was in the American Legion era. I think I was, if I were to categorize it, I think I was like the last of the American Legion era of being, extremely relevant. Not that it's not relevant. There's still American Legion teams that are playing right now, and I don't want to discredit them, of course. But when I was playing American Legion in Cape, we had a really good team, and we had some players from all around Southeast Missouri, and we were really proud of that team, and we went around and won a lot of games. So we played American Legion in the summer, but I'll tell you what, travel ball was coming up pretty heavy, and so our coach would enter us into these travel ball tournaments as an American Legion team, and we'd go in there and whoop some butt in there too. So that was always kind of fun. It was, we had a stigma because we were an American Legion team. We'd go in those travel ball tournaments and take care of business too.
Yeah. I played for Poplar Bluff American Legion, and us and you guys, Cape, back then we were always just going at it, for districts every year. So
Doc Yalley and Bill Boner. Oh
sure,
yeah.
Played at Cap Hall. Yeah,
that's right.
Before Cap Hall got turf, though. This was back when they still had grass and everything. But
I don't think I had the hand-eye reflexes to do that. I played Little League, had a lot of fun doing that. But a friend of mine, you may know, Matt Gilmer. Yeah. So Matt, he was a pitcher. We was on a Little League team together. And I don't know how old I was, or he was younger than me, but he was a pitcher. And, we're in Little League, and he is throwing 80 miles an hour. And I'm like, I'm out. This is, at like 12, 13, that's pretty scary.
For sure.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know about this. Yeah. Now, he was a great pitcher, but that's fast.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy how these young guys have increased their velocity.
It is.
Compared to what, whenever – when I was playing, this was in the 90s, of course, if a guy was throwing mid-80s or high 80s, that was gas. Now that's, now they're throwing, mid-90s and they're in high school. It's like, what are you feeding these guys?
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. Well, that's the name of the game is velocity right now. And, until that turns around, you're going to see guys just reaching for it. Mm-hmm. And, you got drive line and all of that good stuff, trying to get that extra mile per hour and get that scholarship or get that draft spot. So, it's interesting, and I think you do see more injury that way. Yeah. But it's fun to watch. I will say that.
So, when you were in college, did your baseball? Did you go to college for Parks and Rec, or was it sports management or coaching or what?
Political science.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Wow,
we can riddle that. Yeah.
I have an ag business degree, so I can't say anything.
So I would say that I was a someone when I was that age, when I was in my young 20s, late teens, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I enjoyed sports. I knew I was interested in politics to an extent, not necessarily being in politics as a politician, but I was interested in the competitive atmosphere of politics and political systems and learning the history of that. And so those two things collided for me. So I worked in politics a little bit, working for a couple of different candidates, campaigns, did some of that. Realized I didn't think that's what I wanted to do for my life. Had fun doing it for a few years, and then kind of gravitated back toward the sports world. That's when I started coaching. And like I said, I enjoyed the coaching life, and not to say that I'd never do that again, but it did. You mentioned catfish. Traveling, you play 60 games in like 68 days or something, and so it's just a lot of travel, and just tried to find something a little bit more stable, stay home a little bit more.
For sure, yeah.
Definitely
a young guy's game, unless you just really want to devote your whole life to that. As far as like looking down the road and having a family and kids and stuff, it's like it'd be pretty difficult. But
absolutely,
I'm sure though with that political science background, that probably helps you in local government politics and just really kind of interacting with people in general.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that political science can help with a lot of different things. I mean, I think it can help with interaction, like you said, local government. I think for sure, and I think too, just for soft skills in general, and something that
I could see that.
Yeah, I think something, and I think that's something that we're maybe our younger generation struggles with a little bit. Is soft skills. We're so locked in on our devices, and we've talking. I think everyone's probably talked about that till we're blue in the face, but those soft skills, I think, we see that decrease a little bit throughout the years, and that can help you.
Absolutely. I was at the golf course yesterday. Of course, it was raining, but I was talking to a friend of mine, and we got talking about our kids, and he had some kids in travel ball, and he was talking out. And I told him, I said, well, I know that's expensive, but you got to keep them occupied. You got to, and I think that keeping them occupied in sports, you've talked about this. We've had conversations about how important that is to teach these life skills.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's, you playing sports, we talked about this, I think a couple of weeks ago with Faison when he was here, but you definitely have to learn how to deal with failure and success, and I think that's really a big one. And then too, learning about the team, the
team concept.
The group is bigger than just one person, so those are lifelong lessons that you can't really get behind just playing video games.
You win together, you lose together, you sacrifice together, you practice together, you set these goals, and you get the outcome that you've earned. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's a hard loss, sometimes it's a great victory, and man, it's good educational for kids. I mean,
man, I couldn't agree more. I preach that all the time. It's such a good educational tool, just being involved in sports, and it doesn't have to. I feel very fortunate and blessed. I got to play college baseball and then be involved in coaching for as long as I was, but it doesn't have to be that either. Like Chief mentioned, he played Little League baseball. I mean, that's it too.
I love that. I did. I was just average. I wasn't anything great or anything, but I had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
I tried pitching for a little bit. And when nobody's standing up there, I was good. You put somebody up there, I'm hitting them. There's something about it. I'm trying not to hit them every time. Coach pulled me out. He's like, we got to stop hurting people.
I was going to talk to you about some of the other parks too, but I was, one of the things where you're talking about out there at the complex, I guess was it last year, a year before, the conservation department kind of took over the lake out there. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So since I've been here, they have. So I didn't know any different since I've been here. And I think, we maintain daily basis right around it. But they play a hand in helping take care of that lake, just as far as, the health of it, and the vegetation inside of it. They stock it. I think most people are aware by now. We have the trout that come in, which is a really neat deal. I think one thing people may not know, what's kind of cool, is to get those trout is like, you got to be like on a waiting list. Like you don't.
They're pretty good size, aren't they?
They're pretty good size, and like they're not easy to get. Like you've got to like sign up for that and wait. And from my understanding, it took several years. And now that we're in. But there's different cities and different counties and that have lakes or ponds or or different water streams that are trying to get these trout that can't. So
wow.
So I always thought that was kind of interesting, and anybody that is interested in fishing, I like to throw that tidbit in there and be like, man, you are fortunate to live in a community that has this type of stuff.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, whenever they stocked it with trout, I was like, that's super cool because of course I'm a good old country boy. Okay, if it's not a catfish or crappie or a perch or a bluegill, I've never even seen a trout in the wild. Yeah. And so I've been out there a few times, and I like to go out there to the complex and fish, and I always catch something, but I've not ever caught a trout. I would be super excited if I ever caught a trout because I've never caught one, never seen one, so that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I'll tell you what, next time it floods, there'll probably be one sitting on the Clinton building floor, so you can probably come pick it up there.
Well, it's not the same if I don't catch it on the pole.
I don't think a lot of people may not know this, but it's actually designed to flood out there.
It is.
I mean, that's where the water goes, so it can get it out of our streets and everything, and out of our storm drain system and all that. And I mean, if you had any doubt about that, wait till we get a big rain and go out there and look, because it fills it up. And it goes away pretty quick.
It does. It sure does. And I think in general speaking, like Chief, what you alluded to, like the complex is designed to flood, and really, like nationwide, like parks in general are typically designed to flood.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you're in a flood, shouldn't really be out at the park. And so it's kind of a win-win, right? You have a park for beautiful days that people can go and enjoy, and that's people like me like to see that and like to help with that, and see families enjoy them. But for days like today, this is Friday afternoon. We're about to get some weather
again.
That they can also play a different role and hopefully assist in some water.
The more concrete and asphalt stuff goes up, the more difficult it is to get that water absorbed and out of here. So you got to have green space like that. It helps quite a bit. It helps more than you think it does.
Absolutely.
So that park holds a lot of water.
Sure does.
So I guess one of my other questions is I noticed the grass out there. Of course, being a baseball guy, sports guy, how important it is to have nice fields. And man, the sports field, softball fields, baseball fields out there, grass looks great. Infields look great. Soccer field and the grass. Can you kind of talk a little bit about how much work it is to? I mean, I have just a little patch, a small lawn at my house,
sure.
And I know how much that small little patch of grass is to maintain. Can you kind of talk about all the work that goes into that grass and maintaining those fields and stuff?
Yeah, for sure, and I appreciate it. It's a lot of work, right? But it's certainly worth it. First off, because just aesthetically and for gameplay, it looks nice, but it also plays nice. And a lot of that, first and foremost is our team, like our maintenance team. Matt Patterson leads them. On a daily basis. Those guys work really hard out there, just mowing, fertilizing, and just keeping the health of that grass going. But I will also shout out like D. Bizzle from Bizzle Nursery. I mean, they come out and spray, and they just do like a phenomenal job. I met him. He's one of the first guys I met.
He's a good guy.
He is a real good guy. Yeah. He's
his dad is too.
Absolutely,
Super
absolutely.
Dude.
And they're one of the first people that I met coming into town outside of people that are working for the city.
Right.
And we sat and met, and they had been spraying before I got here. But we sat down, and we had some mutual people that I had worked with in Cape that he'd also worked with in that same business. And so we sat down, kind of had some mutual interest of what we wanted the fields to look like, and so right off the bat we kind of clicked. And we put a plan together, and I say he did, and I just said, that sounds awesome. So he killed it, man. I mean, D knows what he's doing, and we're just fortunate to have somebody that talented in this area.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes out there with his team and works super hard in it. And the cool thing is he communicates with our maintenance staff team. I mean, they mow in line with when he's going to spray. They communicate well. And you can see the result. We put that drone up there.
Yeah,
those pop. I mean, it's
well.
Really
and I said this episode works out well because that was the last thing we talked about doing our update was how busy the complex was. And I talked to you about this. I rode my bike through there, and I was like, man, there's a lot of people out here. I just started riding my bike again, and I'm always afraid I'm gonna get run over. So like the sports complex is like a good place to ride. I mean, people aren't driving fast out there, and
Do you think, are you worried about them running over you intentionally, or?
That was my question too. I was like, is that on purpose or?
Yeah. Now you got me thinking about that. Now I'm really scared.
I got a couple of names in mind that might.
There's probably a couple out there that would, you know, maybe give me a bump, a little love tap or something, you know. But yeah, I rode out there, and of course the people were out on the pickleball courts, the tennis courts, the baseball. You know, I mean, they had the skate park, people at the dog park. They were all over the place. They were fishing, and I was just like, man, I knew people used the park. I guess not being out there a lot. I mean, a lot of times if we're patrolling or whatever, it's during the day or maybe late at night.
Sure.
And there's that window where it is being utilized quite a bit, and I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the first times, you know, I think it was like a couple weeks into me working here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like two stories in one. The first one was I would work late one day, like a couple weeks in, and I ended up leaving at 7:30 or so. Got in my truck and looked outside and was like, "Whoa!" You know, like, there's a ton of people out here, man.
Yeah.
Like, people love this place, and that was encouraging, right? I mean, it's super exciting. You know, you're doing something for the good. You know, you're working there all day, and you know it gets monotonous. You're mowing and you're trying to keep up with all the growth. But then to see people enjoy it is just satisfying.
You get to see people enjoy the work that you
Yes.
did. So that, yeah, I could see that being rewarding.
It is. And the second one was Celebration in the trunk or treat event that's coming up. That comes up in October. That was the first big event when I was here, and people were telling me
That's a big event.
it is a big event, and
Yeah.
people were telling me they're like, Josh, it's going to be a couple thousand people there. And I just thought people couldn't count. I was like, "There's no way." And so I just thought, okay, you know, it's going to be a big event, but there's no way there's going to be, you know, multiple thousands of people here. And sure enough, I mean, it blew my doors off. I mean,
I remember the first year they had that, or at least the first year that I participated in it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go get some more candy. I mean, it was. You're exactly right. It was like, wow. Like I mean, I was expecting, you know, a couple hundred people, and you know, it's like 1,500, 2,000 people out there.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the first year we did it, you know, we started doing that kids SWAT challenge that we do in October, and we do it out at the park, and that's a great time because those two events backed up to each other, and I didn't realize how big Celebration was going to be, and of course we spent some time with playing with the kids on that SWAT challenge and the obstacle course we put out there, and then that thing kicked off, and I was like, man, there's a lot of people coming out here. This is like
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, it was a big, and it has. I don't know how many years we've done that, 2 or 3, maybe, or something
I'd say
like
maybe
that.
3 years.
Yeah,
three.
I think it's 3. I think this is going to be the 4th. Or you're talking about Celebration.
Celebrations,
This would be the 4th this year.
Yeah.
No,
I think we started them at the same time, maybe, or something like
I think
that.
so, yeah.
So
very neat.
You know, I followed in the city council meeting. I guess maybe it was the last one. I saw that there's going to be some improvements to the tennis court and some maintenance to the pickleball. Can I talk about that a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, of course. So tennis court, for users, they know. You know, I mean, if you go out there, pickleball and basketball are more just repairs. Like I would say, I would call them more routine repairs. There's cracks, you know, small cracks that we're going to replace and just tighten things up. Make sure that the courts are as good as they can be for regular play. The tennis courts aren't in very good shape. They're damaged, and they're damaged pretty heavily. There's some pretty wide cracks there that
it's just normal wear and tear over the years.
Yeah, I think so, Chief. I think that's what it is. You know, that's what it appears to me, at least.
Well, this I don't know what they call it, the alluvial plain or alluvial soil or whatever. This stuff settles, it cracks. I mean, it just my driveway's like that, you know. So it just happens.
It does, and so it's just time, and so you know you go out there and you could be playing tennis, the ball might hit the crack, it goes one way or the other. Now, if you have good strategy, you can beat somebody like that. But
quit hitting it toward the crack. It's cheating.
But we don't want to see people rolling their ankles and breaking their ankles out there. So you know, that will be coming up. We don't have a hard date of when they're going to start on that yet. The guy that won the bid, he's working a little bit further south right now, and when he gets through that, he'll be heading our way. But we'll be sure as soon as we know a date, we're going to be posting on our social media as well as the Sikeston pickleball page. Make sure to give as much possible heads up warning as we can, because we don't want.
Yeah, and I know that stuff, it costs money, and if you're not out there seeing people use it like they do, you probably don't understand why you're spending that money on it.
Yeah.
But in the council meeting, I thought somebody spoke up, and I thought they're going to complain about it. But no, they didn't. They were like, spend the money.
Yeah, that's
fix
right.
It. Yeah.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, okay, well, all right. You know,
Yeah, pickleball is one of those things, man. In the last few years, that sport has just really just blown up.
Oh, it's booming.
Yeah.
I mean, they're transforming across the country. They're transforming tennis courts to pickleball courts like crazy.
And I hear the mayor's a championship pickleball player. That's what I hear.
Well, I do see him at the YMCA about 5:30 in the morning a lot of times playing pickleball. So.
He's going to get mad at me for saying that. But, yeah, I think he's pretty good.
Well, that's what I hear too.
Yeah.
That's what I hear too.
He wouldn't want me saying that, but I think he is pretty good.
I think so.
It's a fun game. I don't know. Of course, I'm not a serious pickleball player. I don't even know all the rules.
Yeah.
But, I've always liked tennis and like to watch tennis. Now, there's a difference between tennis is a lot like golf. You watch it and you think, oh, yeah, I could do that. But I'm going to tell you, tennis is a hard game. I mean, you need to be a very agile athlete, and I'm not very agile to play tennis. But pickleball is a little bit slower.
Yeah.
It's kind of like ping pong, except you get to kind of chase the ball a little bit. You have a little bit more room to run. So it's kind of a fun game.
Yeah, there's some more than just gross motor skills involved in tennis. You got to get, it's hard, so.
Well, and pickleball, it provides, it can be a lifetime sport, which is cool. Like you mentioned golf, and there's not a ton of sports that can be a lifetime sport for somebody. And that's always neat to have something that's a lifetime sport that's not 18 holes of a golf course either.
Right.
It's something that its footprint isn't that large, and it's not crazy expensive either. So it allows some people to dive into a sport to keep themselves healthy for a long period of time.
One of the other things that's, and I guess it kind of ties into our parks, and I'm kind of excited about, is our Rails to Trails project that the city has going on. Do you see that, with having these trails that lead to the complex and things like that throughout town, and down through the West End to the new ballpark down there, Dantzler Field, and that area? Do you see that trails kind of maybe increasing some physical activity, people in the community, and then accessing your parks by walking or biking or whatever?
I think so. I really do. I think that, like you said, it increases foot traffic for one. So the first thing I think of when those two things are kids, that can't get there if maybe mom and dad are working during the summer, or or maybe they can just hop on a bike, or maybe they can walk and get down to the park. And so that allows access for them, which is really neat. And two, like you said, it's an opportunity to still stay moving while getting to the park.
Right.
So it's activity in its own, and I think it's really pretty. I think it outlays something that is that's aesthetically pleasing throughout the middle of town as well. That's another project that was happening as I got here. That I thought was really. I think it was a really unique and cool decision for a project,
For sure.
Yeah, that's grant dollars too.
It is.
So that's great.
That's right. It's grant money, and it's one of those things. It's like, man, you got a railroad coming through here, and it's like, what do we do with that? It's kind of outdated, and putting something like that there that promotes activeness and and movement is right up our alley, man. I think it's really neat.
And kind of talking about kids not getting out and doing sports and stuff. I know seems like there's a big push from the federal government for those tax dollars to get people out and get them active and make them healthier and things like that.
Yeah, no, I think we're seeing that as well. And so we're hoping to see more grant opportunities like that. And as we see them, we're hoping to capitalize on them. We're definitely we're looking for all those opportunities we can.
Yeah, I know before you came here, Lincoln Park had really established itself, I think, with the splash pad and the basketball courts and stuff like that. Anything on the horizon for Lincoln Park, or I think maybe some other parks on the west side of town? Anything coming up that you know of?
Well, I do know Lincoln is getting, it's not really Lincoln Park, but those couple friends of mine's got that, what is the community center that they're building, Kenny King and William Marshall? That's coming
That's
So,
correct.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That community center, I believe, is, and I don't know a date on that. Do you, Chief? I've
don't.
heard about
I
it.
don't know. I haven't talked to those guys in a while. I occasionally ask them, how's it going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've talked to them. But I know they got a good portion of the first phase of that done. So.
Sure. No,
But-
and that's an exciting opportunity there. But on that other side, on that side of town, I know we're adding in, and we should see them here in the next few months. There's a couple pieces there's a few pieces down at Roberta Row that if you drive by, and you can see it from Malone, and you can see that it's like an empty box right now. And we had to remove a few pieces because they were unsafe. I mean, we were concerned about kids using them and hurting themselves, quite frankly. And so we've ordered a few pieces there, and they're kind of standalone pieces, so it's nothing gigantic right now. But they should be in here in the next few months, and we're excited to install those back at Roberta Row. And then in coming here in the new budget, we're looking for opportunities specifically for some at Roberta Row and I think Rotary, and I think we've kind of got a list of how parks go and what we're gonna on the horizon. So
I think a lot of people probably don't know how much that equipment costs.
Yeah,
you're talking about the budget. These are high dollar, probably $20,000 type equipment that you gotta you got to budget for, and you can't just replace it like that. There's 16 parks. There's a lot of need, and we try to get around as best we can. I hear these budget discussions, is when we're trying to do the budget for the year and everything. So it's a challenge to do, and sometimes that's why it takes longer than people would like.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, I think when I was first introduced to pricing of playground units, I was amazed. And if you sit down and really consider all factors, it does make sense. The standards of safety and structural integrity that you're going to have children playing on them. You want them. I mean, you want them to be that way. You want them to be definitely double, triple checked with structural integrity.
Yeah, you don't want it rusting in 2 years.
No, absolutely not. But it does. It comes with a very hefty price tag, and like you mentioned, 20,000. I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be a dream.
I remember they did one. They had this at I think it was at Malone Park several years ago. They had a mulch fire. You know how that mulch sometimes will just catch on fire just spontaneously or whatever. And it burned up one of those things, and I just saw in the conversation, I guess because there was a fire and we had some part in it, and they were talking about insurance. And I'm thinking, why do you need insurance on a slide? I mean, what is it? And they said, because it's like $23,000. And this is several years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what it costs now.
Yeah.
But I almost fell over. I'm like, you're kidding me. Like,
it's nuts.
I was educated on that stuff then. So I was like, okay.
For sure, it's I think it's definitely way more expensive than people would think. A playground unit, I would say, hitting 50,000 is not uncommon in the slightest. Wow. And that's not even one that's
what's the lifetime
very
on that?
large. I think it does vary. It depends what you get, but I would say probably 15, 20 years.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I was thinking.
And of course there's variables there, but they're making them typically stronger, better now.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, the 16 parks, I'm sure you got people that live close by and they're making requests for their specific park, but you also have to evaluate how much use is that going to get and try to prioritize. I mean, so there's a lot of planning and decision making that goes into that, I'm sure.
There is, like you mentioned, there's a lot of things to juggle because there's a priority of the first and foremost. You look at and see which units are the most in need, which ones are close to being unsafe, right? Which ones are the most unsafe. So that's kind of the first thing you look at. Then which ones are being underserved or which ones are being overserved? Is there certain areas that there's a lot of people that are coming to the park and don't have enough units there? So you got to look at all those factors and juggle those, and that causes debate amongst staff even. I mean, because people, I mentioned a lot, people that work inside parks and recreation, typically are pretty passionate about it.
Right.
And they like to see people enjoy their time and want to do the right thing most of the time. And so that causes people having opinions about where things should go and what to replace next. And because people just like we're just like the citizens, we want it to go fast.
Yeah.
we want playgrounds to go up quick. We want everything to be improved. I promise you, we do. It just moves slower than we'd all like, but that's kind of the name of the game sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think aside from just, and this is John's question, I'm gonna let you ask it, but there's other benefits aside from just having a place for kids to play. You asked it before we got started here.
You lost me on that one.
It's the economic benefit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I didn't want to ask your question for
no,
you.
that's okay.
You would have called me out on it.
I would have. But yeah,
So how's that affect economics here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Specifically, I think when we start talking economic impact,
Right.
it's my mind immediately first jumps to tournaments.
Right. That's a lot of people coming to town.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
For sure. And before we dive into that, I think I'd be remiss to not mention that other things are bringing people in too in
Right.
Parks and Rec. Fishing derby, we have people come from out of town.
Okay.
Celebration, we have people come from out of town. We have people that are coming in and they sign up, at registration, and people are coming from Charleston, from East Prairie, from further. We had people come from Illinois or even Kentucky sometimes.
Well, I could see people
things.
living out in rural areas who don't have a community
right.
that they want to play pickleball.
That's right.
I mean, they're going to come play here.
That's right.
So,
well,
and they're probably going to pick up a soda here.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And they make a week dinner.
Yeah.
And
go buy their groceries while they're in town.
For sure. For sure. And so hopefully that's a draw for them.
Right.
An additional draw. And so on a larger scale, that's what our tournaments are doing. Is bringing in some a whole lot of families, and for all mostly a common cause to play baseball or softball for a tournament. They come in for the weekend. Some of the teams are more local that are just coming in for the day, driving back home, whether that be to Cape or probably an hour radius is usually a day trip. But then we'll have several teams that are further than an hour that are staying here at the hotels here in Sikeston, which we're very proud of that. Trying to fill hotel rooms here, and then so those folks, and then on top of the folks that are even just coming for a day trip, we're hoping at least we're filling restaurants for folks. We're hoping they're walking into our gift shop or our stores here downtown, our boutiques, our gas stations. We're hoping they're filling up in Sikeston. And that's the type of economic development that we're searching for. So, I talk to our staff a lot about the big fish on tournament. It's
right.
We'll charge a fee for someone to rent out our facility for the tournament, and that generates some revenue, of course, and that's great.
You're talking about renting out
the fields.
Okay.
The fields for the tournament. Tournament director comes in, they rent out the fields.
Okay.
And so that generates a little bit of revenue for us, and it does, and it helps our budget a little bit. But compared to the money being spent inside the town, I mean, that's the big fish.
Right.
And so to have our eyes on that instead of this nominal amount is where we want to try to keep our minds.
Yeah.
And so
it's probably hard to calculate specifically how much money those people are spending while they're in town. I mean, like if you look at on a large scale, like the rodeo, where you're bringing in 15,000 people. Now they'll see spikes. You know what I mean? That's pretty obvious on revenue that comes in. So, I mean, I guess you probably work with Marcy Lawson over at the chamber, Sikeston Regional Chamber. So
yeah, I work with the girls over there at the chamber. They're wonderful too, and so that they're able to kind of represent some numbers there, and they're able to, promote Sikeston in general.
Yeah, she does a good job. I mean, I think. Of course, her husband's a prosecutor at New Matter County, and I always knew of her. But a few years ago, we sat down. We were having discussions about community things, and she broke down the multifacets of trying to get things going on in the community to bring people to live here, so they build homes here, so they buy their food here. And she
Yeah.
kind of educated me on a lot of that stuff. Of course, I knew some of it, but I didn't know to the degree that she does, and it was pretty interesting.
Sure. No, absolutely. I think that those, and they're sharp over there at the chamber too.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think one of the things that's really neat that they preach over there too is, being like I think they say being a tourist in your own city too, like experiencing things in Sikeston too, and trying to get out and experiencing things that we do have to offer here, making sure I don't have any kids right now, but like making sure that those that do, our kids are enjoying and experiencing the things that Sikeston has to offer. So, when the day does come, maybe they go off to college and experience their own lives,
Right.
but to know that, it's okay if they come back, right? And to live here. It's a good place to live and to raise a family or to, start a career. And some people won't, and that's fine too. But it's not, but you can, and you can have a good life, and you can, and it's a good place to be.
Do y'all still have the Little League football? Does that still happen out there?
The for tackle.
That's usually just. I guess it's just west of the pond over
The
there. The lake.
JCs.
Yeah.
I think the JCs
That's
do
the
that, right?
JC's
Yep.
event.
So
Okay.
the JC's has that. They practice out there just west of the pond. I
Right.
believe they play their games.
Seems like in the fall, maybe.
Yeah, it's in the fall. I believe they play their games at the high school stadium.
Oh, really? Okay.
If I'm not
That's right.
mistaken.
I believe
Yeah.
so. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still going on. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is going from playing sports to moving into a position like this was not really that's a natural transition for you, I guess. And you did it in Cape for 5 or 6 years, is that what you said?
No, it was like about 2.5.
2.5 years,
Yeah.
okay.
It is and it isn't. Like, it is because you're involved in sports and so that part of it is similar, but being an administrative side of sports
Right.
or leagues can be quite a bit different, and which is okay. But I try to tell people that too, when whether it was when I was in Cape or here, and hiring for different positions to come in and work for, especially when you're talking about recreation and sports in general, is to take a step back from it and try not to romanticize it. It's yes, it's sports, and that's, for me at least, that's awesome. You get paid to work in sports. That's great. But to take a step back and just not romanticize it and understand that it's a job and that you have to try to perfect and be really instead of when you were playing sports. For me, you're trying to perfect being really good on the mound and be really effective and maybe out think or out compete your competitor. Instead of that, you want to try to be the best at administering this league.
So you're not really sitting there watching games. You're trying to make sure everybody can have an enjoyable time while they're watching their kids play, or the kids are having fun.
That's exactly
doing it.
right.
So
that's exactly right. Making sure everyone's informed or and everything's communicated to them. We ran the basketball league this winter, and we hired JT Jones this past late fall, early winter, and he got the opportunity to run basketball this winter, and I did that back in Cape, and so I talked with him a lot beforehand about that, and helped him get it started, but then kind of let him just go ahead and do it, and let it roll, and he did such a wonderful job, and what we would talk during the week about that, about just how communication matters and how it's not get caught up in just watching sports and feel the need to really perfect the art of making sure that things are going smoothly. And
do y'all have a lot of help out there, or do you need help? I mean, I know Jason, who's not here, of course, he does a lot of umpiring and stuff like that, and he really enjoys that. I mean, are you still needing umpires and things like that, or?
Well, I'll be honest with you. So the umpires for baseball and softball, that is actually administered through the league itself.
Okay.
And so, like the league, baseball and softball league, is independently run. And so, from my understanding, they're doing well right now. Now I'll say this: I I bet they wouldn't turn you down.
I know Jason said they were struggling for a while.
Yeah.
So
I've been in that position before where I was directly running leagues when I was back in Cape. The city directly ran them, and I mean, you can't ever have enough. I mean,
yeah, I'm not doing that. I have enough conflict in my life.
Do you want to?
I don't do
Are you
that.
signing up?
No, I'm good.
But
I'll just have Jason tell me stories. Yeah.
I mean, shoot, like we were talking about catfish. It's crazy. When I was coaching, it's hard to find umpires for that level, and then it's hard to find umpires at the high school level, and much less. I mean, it's hard to find umpires at every single level.
Yeah.
It's just a job that people don't want right now.
Yeah, because it seems like, I mean, even from when I was a kid to playing those little league games to now, people in general they're more vocal about their disagreement with the call. You know what I mean? And,
oh yeah.
And it's that can be highly confrontational if you're in that position.
Yeah, it really can, and it's some of it is part of it, but other times it's too much.
Yeah.
And so I know one thing I'll say is for us specifically here in Sikeston, one thing that we do for the Parks and Rec department, we hired a gentleman last year, and he's doing it again this year, that does go around.
Is he like a bouncer or something?
Pretty much. Pretty much. He comes every league night and actually comes to tournaments too.
Yeah.
And he just kind of wanders from field to field and checks on the climate of the fields and make sure we have a lot of young umpires out there, and they may not be directly ours right now.
Sure, right.
And they may be the leagues, but that doesn't mean we can't at least help out, look out for these kids, and because
I know we've noticed there was a couple of years ago, I think we had an incident or two maybe before you came. And so when y'all have tournaments, I always like to send somebody out there. Not to say there's going to be a problem. Typically, there's not. We haven't had a problem out there in a long time. But I want to have somebody out there just to be seen, because I think that makes people feel safer when they see law enforcement out there. And I typically tell them, like, hey, don't get so caught up in the role of being a cop. Go out there and talk to people, have fun, and just be seen. I mean, I think that's just important, make people feel safe.
Absolutely. So. And you guys do such a good job of that here in Sykes. I can't stress that enough. Since I've been here, you guys do such a good job of playing that role that you're talking about, of you're being seen, but you're also just being a part of the community and like intertwining yourselves with what's going on in the community, and you're not. It doesn't feel like you're patrolling 100%. You are, but you're not. Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't know how to explain that.
I appreciate that. I mean, I think first of all, I'll pay you when we're done here. So, secondly, we do try to do that. I mean, there's times in situations where you got to do more enforcement, but I think, we have, again, the officers here we have enough conflict. A lot of them just really want to have they want to do their job, and they try to do it well, but they're not really looking for conflict. They want to have a good, enjoyable day at work. You know what I mean? That's what they want. And I've gotten this way over time. I come in, I was kind of shy, but I like to just go out and talk to people and is one reason why we're doing this podcast, because Broom, he won't hardly shut up around people, so, but we have fun talking to people and just shooting the bull and stuff like that. And I think a lot of officers are that way. I think, fire division is that way. Fire division goes out there sometimes. And so I appreciate hearing that. I think that's good.
Well, I think it's evident too. I mean, I really do. Someone just coming in from 10 months ago, it's clear and evident, and I think the community must see that too. I mean, and it makes a difference. And so we're blessed to have you guys out there, especially out at the complex, being involved in that type of stuff. That's neat.
Yeah,
very neat stuff.
Well, it's a fun time out there. I mean, like I said, I was riding my bike through there, and I just told myself I'm going to start coming out here more often, because everybody's out there having a good time, and it was a beautiful day. You know,
just got a little FOMO, don't you?
What's that now?
You just got a little FOMO?
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. You try to get that exercise, But I don't know. It's a good time out there. So who do they, when they want to rent the Clinton building or want to rent the ball fields, who do they talk to? Do they call you, or do they call Matt? Or
yeah, they can. For the Clinton building, I would say call JT.
JT. Okay.
But you can look online and look at. If you go to the City of Sikeston website and then just go to the Parks and Rec page, there's a phone number there and you can contact. But if you get a hold of me, JT, Matt, I mean any of us, we're happy to take care of you. I mean it's one or the other. It doesn't matter too much. You're going to end up with somebody good. Unless it's me, but I'll get you to JT if that's the problem. He can take care of you better than me. So
you don't have to be good if you got good people. You just
that's right.
You
that's
delegate.
Right.
That's what you do.
That's right.
I see a lot of guys out there or families rent pavilions too. So I guess you can rent a pavilion for like a birthday party or whatever. Kind of same process, I guess. There.
Yes.
Just go to the same place and you can book a pavilion or what have you.
Yeah, you can, and it's it's real affordable. I think it's like $10 for. It's a 5-hour increment to rent a pavilion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's really just to keep structure. It kind of goes back to the whole tournament thing. We're trying to recoup on some revenue, of course, and but it's not we're not in the money making game. We're not. We're just we're trying to keep structure. We're trying to recoup on costs, but not rake it in or anything like that. But enjoying the pavilions is neat, especially this time of year. Seeing people out there having birthday parties, family reunions, work functions. We see it all, and we love to see it. I think it was, yesterday, I think it was Caro Middle School. Good Behavior was out at the complex. They were fishing and running around. And,
From Cairo.
Yeah.
I've seen a few school buses out there in the last few weeks. I guess maybe having some different schools go out there and enjoy the complex, not just from Sikeston, but from other towns.
That's right. And so it was neat to see those kids out there. I mean, they called and asked if it was something that we could do. We said for sure. So they came out and enjoyed the complex as well. So we're really seeing, like I said, a diverse amount of people, different places, and that's the goal.
Well, a couple of years ago, there was a discussion about maybe expanding the park. Are they still talking about that, or is that just a long-term goal?
Expanding north?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that was the old golf course area out there. So.
Yeah, I think that's still that's still in talks of happening. Now, as far as the timeline on that,
that's got to be phases and a long-term type of project for sure. Because again, we're talking about hefty amount of money, but
sure, and so I don't, that's something that I haven't been told specifically on a timeline,
right.
But I do think that that's still definitely in the future.
Yeah,
I think that it's fair to say that at some point that'll be part of the future of Parks and Recreation in Sikeston.
Yeah, I've heard some of the ideas and just I guess maybe some rumors that's kind of been associated with it. And I'm going to tell you, I was pretty excited to hear some of the things that they were thinking about.
Yeah, they had and I don't remember what it was. Again, a couple of years ago, they had like town hall meetings and they had some ideas and discussion. I think really just to get the discussion going about what people thought that of course everybody's got different opinions too, and you got to try to figure out what is it that the community predominantly would like to have, trying to and that's kind of hard because some people want to play tennis, some people don't care about tennis, some people want baseball, and some people like I don't care about baseball.
Absolutely.
Who would say something like that?
Was that you at the meeting?
That's not me. No, I promise. Yeah.
Movies in the park, we having that this summer too? Is that a Parks and Rec deal, or is that downtown historic Sikeston?
Yeah, they may have some too. I don't want to step on their toes if they do, but we've had two since I've been here. Both have been great. We have one at the end of Celebration, which is a long day, but we ended it with that, and it was cool. We did it at the complex.
That's a big hit. I mean, we've had it down here at the Legion Park before too, haven't we?
We did it at Malone
Park.
The day before
Malone
Easter.
Park,
it was the Saturday before Easter.
I always get those parks mixed up.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
But it was great. So we did Hop at Malone Park. The historic downtown put on a Fountain Day event to kind of kick off turning the fountain on there at Malone Park, that new fountain. So that was a neat, real pretty event. And
when does that happen in June, or does that happen in this month, or?
That already happened.
Oh, it already happened.
Yeah,
I missed it.
That happened.
Well,
so,
okay.
But then we played, because it was the day before Easter. That morning we actually had an Easter egg hunt at the complex, and it was well attended. It was very good. But that evening we played Hop, movie in the park, and it was very well attended. And so we really enjoy doing those days too. And it's not overly complicated. And I kind of like it that way. I know we've talked about doing different things with it, but I think there's something to be that have the simplicity of what it is, of just, hey, get your family together, get your good friends together.
Yeah.
Let's go out and just get a blanket.
Yeah, and generally people need to be getting online and watching for these events at the parks, because I guarantee you there's a lot of stuff that they don't know that's going on that they could come out and have a good time, participate. I mean, y'all do a lot of work out there, and tax dollars go to keeping that nice and functioning. And hey, they don't charge. I mean, just come on out.
Yeah.
So
I would say the vast majority are free events,
right?
And we'd love to see you. We want to see your face. We're inviting everyone from the public.
So that's on Sikeston.org website, just under the parks.
You can go there. I would say my advice would be, if you're going to go rental information, go there. If you want to look at different event information, I would encourage you to go to our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Just the Sikeston Parks and Rec Facebook page.
Okay.
That's kind of where you'll find more up-to-date event information.
Well, and I know the Sikeston Regional Chamber has a community calendar too.
Yep.
And so you can go to their website, and we're getting kind of close to our time limit here. We probably need to start wrapping up.
What time limit?
Well, Josh, we really appreciate you coming up. I mean,
of course.
I just really, again, this podcast, we're trying to gear it toward the community and people that are working and serving in the community, trying to serve others. You're certainly doing that. You and your team, Matt and JT, and all of your people out there, and appreciate that. I guess I got to see that firsthand. Of course, I know they've been busy, but I mean, it's starting to warm up, and it was just another reminder of how much people enjoy coming out there and all the different events. So we appreciate that, and we see how much everybody enjoys it. So
yeah. No, I'd say just not as a public safety officer or police officer, Captain Broom saying this, but just as a citizen of the city, I want to tell you thank you and your staff, because kind of like what he's talked about, the complex looks great. I drive by there and I see the nice green grass and everything's nice and trimmed and mowed and people enjoying it. It just makes me happy and proud to be from Sikeston and, just be part of my community. So we appreciate it.
Man, it means a lot coming from both of you guys. And we do work hard, and like I said, sometimes it can get monotonous, but things like this, hearing little things like that, and I'll be sure to share with the team, because they'll get a kick out of it too, and keep them moving forward as well. We really do enjoy it. Thanks for having me on, guys. I mean, this has been cool. We're trying to just do positive things as well. I know you guys are also.
Mm-hmm.
Just really appreciate coming on.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. I think that, not just parks, public works and community development and all the facets of the city really want the city to do well and be a good place for everybody to live and come and visit and everything. So,
and it's, genuinely a team effort. We can't just do it at public safety. You can't just do it at parks.
Yes.
That's why, JD at City Hall is trying to manage all these different facets with, Sikeston Regional Chamber. And that's what keeps pushing this ball down the field.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to, we benefit each other when we work together. And I think that's what's happening, and we're seeing the results of that. So that's good.
Absolutely. No, for sure. And thank you guys for everything you guys do. I mean, you make our jobs easier, and, we call, and it's never a doubt, when you guys are coming to help. And I mean, it's usually not me.
I'll get there eventually. But it's these.
You come on your bike, and so we know that would take a while. So.
If he doesn't get ran over.
That's right.
Love taps. But well, I guess we're going to call it for today. Appreciate having Josh Meyer, Director of Parks and Rec, and you guys email us and like and subscribe. To our channel here. Appreciate you guys following us, and email us at chief.cap.chap@gmail.com. And until then,
take the high road.
Take the high road. All right.
All right.
There we go.